Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Beyond the Sewing Room. I'm Diane. So today I am upcycling a Primark sweater. So I got this from a charity shop for £3.50. I'd been wanting a red cardigan or a red sweater and I saw this. It's oversized. The fabric was like new. If you've seen my previous video you'll have seen it in that one, and it is just perfect for recycling. So too big for me, a little bit oversized and not really to my style. Too long in the arms, too long in the body. And the fabric is just what I wanted though. So what I decided to do was make a cardigan, which was my original intention, but I did ask for a few ideas in my previous video. So thank you to everyone who commented. And I did decide, due to some of your comments, that yes, the fabric would be a little bit thick for doing the ruffle. So I had thought of doing a ruffle top from the Tilly book, but no, it would have been a little bit too thick for making the ruffle lie flat. So what I've decided to do is make a cardigan. Now I've used some of the pieces from the Marlowe just to get an idea of the shape of the V at the front, but the sleeves I left on but altered the length and the cuff, and I've opened up the front entirely and I've shortened it. So I'm going to show you my process in a moment, what I did. And then also I'm going to show you the finished item. So you'll see it on, you'll see a few still shots, a little bit of me wearing it. So yeah, so let's get started. This is the sweater on. I know some people like them oversized like this, but I just feel a bit swamped in it. So I've got my sweater laid out on the floor here. I've decided to use my Marlowe pattern pieces to decide what the front needs to look like. So I've placed it on. As you can see, it's a little wider, but of course I won't need the side seam because the side seam will already be in the sweater. So I just need to cut it at the front and also take some off the bottom. So I can utilise that, what I take away for the front band that goes up the front. And I won't need any for the bottom because I can reuse that rib when I pop it back on. So I will cut it a little longer than that piece because I do find this crop version is very cropped, but I need to make sure I've got enough of that bottom to do my front band. So I need to do that first of all. I also need to shorten the sleeves, and I think I'll unpick that neck rib. May need to use some of it for the back, but I'll unpick all of it for now. Right, so we've got the bottom chopped off, look. I've cut up the front and cut the V shape, and also taken off this rib. Now what I've done, I've cut it a little smaller, look, because the neck was quite big on me. And when I put that back on at the back, it will pull in that back neck a little. And then the bottom pieces that are here, look, quite hard to see, but will be just long enough. They're a little shorter, but that's fine because you have a little bit that gathers in on the front band of a cardi. Right, now I'm going to put the rib back on the bottom. So I've marked it where it needs to meet the sides and the back centre. And also mark the back centre on this one, on this main piece. And I'm going to pin it in position first. I didn't mess about trying to unpick all the overlocking that was around here. I just trimmed it really close to it when I took it off. So if we just pin that right sides together like this, then I can stitch it back in place. Now I've changed my needle. I've got a stretch needle and it's a size 90 because this will be quite thick here where we've got all these layers of sweatshirting together. This comes up to the front like this, edge to edge. So I'll pin that on both sides and I'll sew it back on. Right, so it's going to need a press, but so far I've got the band on. I've taken the rib off one of the cuffs to do behind the neck here because I found that the little piece that I was using, it was too narrow and I wanted it to match the width of this band. So these are quite deep and too long anyway, so I've took one off, used it to extend this band at the front. Now look, that's still long enough even if I just hemmed it, but what I'm going to do is take this one off as well and then half it and use half on each and have a narrow rib just to finish off those sleeves. And then I need to think about buttonholes and buttons. On the inside it's got a really small seam, and I think what I'll do there is just edge finish it, and then I may even bind it in some homemade bias tape or something, just to make it pretty on the inside. So I think that's what I'm going to do with that. So I've taken one off and just halved it, look. And now I can make two small ones. So if I turn these up, it'll only be this deep, but it will just finish off the sleeves. So here's a small cuff on the bottom. Again, it's going to need neatening up on the inside. I've done the tiniest of hems again. Now I need to decide on some buttons and buttonholes. Just found these bronze buttons from when I made a jacket recently. Excuse the flickering, because I've got a light on in here that doesn't work well. I've just made some bias tape from some scrap fabric, and I'm pinning it to the inside to hide the seams because they're a bit big, a bit thick to go under the overlocker. I don't want to force it, so I'm just neatening it up with this. So on the inside it just looks like this because I just wanted that seam hidden, so I've just bound it within that handmade binding. Just makes it look a little bit neater on the inside. So here it is finished. Now it's all finished, so I hope you like it. I really love it. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So here it is. Now I found these buttons in my stash. I was looking all through all the different buttons and I didn't have enough of any of the ones that I found. And then I remembered I bought these when I made a jacket a little while ago, and there was 5 left. So I've used 3 on here and I've still got 2 left over. So they're a sort of bronze colour, and I think they work really well with the red. And then a couple of things that I'm going to mention now. So I showed you where I was cutting it out, how I cut it up the front, and I added on the rib back on the bottom. But I did find that I wanted to use the existing rib from round the neck, but it just wasn't wide enough. So what I had to do was, as I showed in one of the clips, cut off the cuffs and decide to use one of the cuffs because it would be deep enough for the back neck. It did pull it in a little bit. I wanted that because it was quite big on the back neck on me. It hung quite wide on the original sweater. You probably couldn't see properly in the image that I showed, but it was quite gapy. So I knew that if it pulled it in a little at the back, it would be fine. So I took that off, and then for the remaining cuff that was left, as you saw, I cut it in half, and I managed to get 2 out of it. Look, they're much narrower, but they work. They are fine. I'm happy with them. And then on the inside, I wanted it a little bit neater. So I've used this scrap piece of cotton that I had left over, and I made a bias strip. Now I didn't use my bias making tool for this. I just literally folded it in on both sides, ironed it on the ironing board to the width that I wanted. So that's what I did. I didn't mess about using the tool on this occasion, just because it can be quite difficult to thread it through sometimes. So that's what I did to make the binding. But I suppose you could use a contrast on the inside if you wanted. It wouldn't matter because you won't see it. And then I've just bound that inside seam there where the where this band that I've made for the front, for the button band and buttonhole band, meets the main cardigan. I didn't want you to be able to see that raw edge, so I've just bound it round it. I machine stitched it on one side, then hand stitched it down on the other. And then at the bottom, I've cut it down both sides with some hand stitching, and also at the back of the neck, just so that it lies down flat and doesn't flip up and annoy the back of my neck. But as you can see, this cuff piece that I've used at the back works really well because it's the right width. So it just curves, it's got a nice curve there, and just a few small gathers where it gathers in a little bit. Well, they're not really gathers, but you can see them. When it's been ironed, it does iron flat. I need to give it another iron now that I've added the binding on as well. I just think that makes it look really neat on the inside. So I'm really pleased with that. It worked out just the way I intended, although it was a bit of juggling, what with that back neck not being deep enough originally and then having to use a cuff at first. I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to use the cuffs after all if I do this, but getting 2 out of 1 worked really well. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that's inspired you to go out, see what you can find in the charity shops, and even if they're not to your taste, just upcycle them into something that you will wear. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of that, what you've been up to, what recycling projects you're on the go with, and thank you so much for watching today. And also thank you to everyone who comments and everyone who subscribed so far. I'll be back soon with more sewing for you. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.